Smriti-Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavadpadam Shankaram Lokashankaram Shankaram Shankaracharyam Keshavam Badarayanam Sutrabhashya Kritau Vande Bhagavantau Punah Punaha Ishvaro Gururatmeti Murti Bheda Vibhagine Vyomavatyapta Dehaya Dakshina Murtaye Namaha Gukarastvandakaro Vai Rukarastvanivartakaha Andakara Nirodhitvat Gururitya Vidhiyate Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryankaravavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Parthaya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharatam Advaitavritavarshini Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambatvamanusandathami Bhagavad-gita Bhavadveshinim Yam Brahma Varunendra Rutra Marutaha Stunvanti Divyaistavaihi Vedai Sangha Padakramopanishadaihi Gayantiyam Samagaha Dhyanavastita Tatgatena Manasa Pashyantiyam Yoginaha Yasyantam Navidusura Suragana Devaya Tasmai Namaha Devaya Tasmai Namaha. So we are revising the 4th chapter, as you know. And so we just finished the important topic of the Varna and Ashrama system, which is really meant for our growth, both as an individual but also as a member of the society. So the society's growth as well. So this has been very carefully designed by Ishvara, the 4 ashramas and the varnas, the Brahmana, Kshatriya, etc., and so on. So we saw all of that. So one final comment on that the Varna system, which is based out of different types of Varnas or different causes of the Varnas. So one is called, like for example, Brahmana and Kshatriya and Vaishya and Shudra. One is called Jati Brahmana. Jati means one that is born as one. Another one is called Karma Brahmana. And the third one is called Guna Brahmana. So we saw that. So this is an important thing for us to see, that out of the various gradations of the Brahmana, Kshatriya, etc., etc., the most important one is Gunataha Varnaha. Guna. What does it mean, the more important one? There is no superiority or inferiority of looking at the Varnas in any gradations except for Guna. What that means is that no matter what type of work you do, no matter where you were born, that is simply not that important. What is important is from the standpoint of the quality of yourself, what category are you in? And also, in terms of the quality of the varna, how you are progressing in life. It's not necessary that, in fact, not only not necessary, it is not even possible that you are just born in a particular way and you immediately get to the very top. It's not possible. So the whole life is nothing but a progression towards where you want to be. And where you want to be is to be free of all problems in life, to be completely independent of it. This is the moksha. This is the freedom that we are all seeking. So that freedom that we are seeking is possible if you progress towards the varna from a guna standpoint. What does that mean? It means that it's very possible that your gunas, you are not a brahmana from a guna standpoint yet. You are one of the lower castes, if you may, from your guna standpoint. What does that mean? That means that the top version, the top class you want to be, gunataha brahmana, is where the brahmana is sattva is number 1, rajas is number 2, and tamas is number 3. So this is the guna that you want. So it's called SRT. S for sattva, R for rajas, and T for tamas. What does that mean? What it means is that the one we should all aspire to is sattva guna. And what that means is sattva guna is the one that is characterized by, we'll go into this in more detail in some of the subsequent chapters of the Gita. But very briefly, what it means is sattva guna is one where it is conducive to learning, number 1. So whenever you are reading something and you get it, or you're watching some show and you get it, you know exactly what it is, sattva guna is the pradhana at that point. In learning, sattva guna is pradhana. It means calmness, focus, attention, and just happiness. Learning, they say that the most important thing which gives you happiness is learning in life. It gives you great joy. That's why they say we should never stop learning. Great joy. So this is the sattva guna. And then another aspect of the sattva guna is that it is characterized by, as I said, calmness, but just means a sense of okayness. I'm okay. I don't need anything. Forgiveness in problems. Something happens, it's okay, let it go. It's all right. Love, forgiveness, and then patience. So these are the qualities that one needs to have in order to progress in life. And it requires some working towards it. It doesn't automatically come. But here the interesting thing is, this is what is being said in the commentaries of the Gita, that no matter what you are doing, no matter what kind of, what your birth caste is, what kind of work you do. Really speaking, anyone can aspire to be a Brahmana from a guna standpoint. I still remember, I think I mentioned this, give it you as an example, so, because it is a revision, so I can repeat myself. I remember that one of our domestic helps in Bihar when I was growing up was a person who was our cook also. And also, kind of like my parents were given several people to help out because my father was a big shot in mining managing. So he had lots of people in the home and so on and so forth. So one of them was a guy called Chintamani. He's from Odisha. And besides being the cook, when I was born, and I had a lot of problems when I was born, I was so asthmatic, I could hardly breathe, and all kinds of issues, and constant care and so on. I think as much as my mother took care of me, this guy took care of me. And how loving he was. He was asked my mom, why don't you go to sleep? I'll just stay with Vijay and I'll take care of him. And he did, many times during the night. And then he had to get up early in the morning and start cooking and so on and so forth. So here's a person who I consider from a guna standpoint to be a Brahmana. And I don't know what kind of a caste he was born in, that he was never really studied anything, and he could hardly even sign his name. That doesn't matter. But his attitude. And of course, we also took care of him all through the life. He just was like a family member. It doesn't matter whether we were well-read and this, that, or the other. It doesn't matter. So this is the essence of the Bhagavad-Gita. And I was telling you that even now we have some domestic help in this country. Christina from Mexico. What a wonderful person she is. Never misses a birthday. We end up giving her more money because she spent so much money on the gifts for our whole family. She doesn't have to do that. She should come in and just work and then go home. In fact, I wish I knew Spanish. I feel badly. I wish, because she wants to talk. And I can't really, other than just, and she talks in English as though she knows English very well. And she mixes up things, and it's such a strain to talk to her. What a wonderful person. While she's cleaning and so on and so forth. The other thing is that when she's there, then my whole day is disrupted. I cannot study because she's going in and out, talking to me. How are you? How's your sister? This, that, or the other. I just want to study. Just let me finish it. Lovely person. Just a great person. And the other thing is interesting. She has a habit where she puts things the way she likes them to be, not the way you left them. So on my mirror, I have my shaving cream here, and then toothpaste here, and so on and so forth. When she is gone, I have to spend a lot of time reversing everything. But what a lovely lady. So here's Gunataha. She is so wonderful. Doesn't matter. And very religious also. She's Christian and very religious. She goes to church. Beautiful person. So this is what is in verse number 13. We can now peg it. He says, Chatur varnyam maya shrishtam guna karma vibhagashaha. And so there, Swami Paramarthananda made a very beautiful commentary. He says that you need to see that there is no superiority or inferiority anywhere. We all have roles to play, and an important thing to do, because a society needs to have scientists, it needs to have army, it needs to have traders, it needs to have manual labor. All of those roles are there But all of them have the ability to develop guna, quality, as the main focus. Very beautiful. Then let's go on to number 14. I'll just quickly go through. The main verse we will study today is 17 onwards, but just a few points on each one of them. Number 14, I won't read all of it. Namam karmani limpanti, name karma phale spriha, iti mam yo abhijanati karma bhina padyate. So it is the common focus of the Gita on how you should make sure that karma doesn't bind you. Doesn't bind you. So the whole karma yoga section was based on that, and that is also, we are reminded of the same thing here. How, what does it mean? Here again, Swami Paramarthananda, with some examples and so on, did a great job of explaining this. So here we should be very clear about it. Doesn't mean that you should not worry about the results. This is often the thing. You karmani eva adhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. Also given in the in earlier chapters, that please don't worry about the results. So does it mean that I should not keep an eye on the goal and my results? No, this is bad. This is not understood properly. So what it means is your focus should be on doing the right thing and not worry about the results. Paramathananji gave a beautiful example. I really enjoyed that. He said, suppose you are making travel plans to go somewhere. As it happens for us also, when we go to the ashram, we have several ways of going to the ashram. One is to go to the Newark airport, and another one is to go through the ABE, which is not very well connected, Allentown airport. So normal stuff. Swami Paramarthananda says, whenever you're making a travel plan, think carefully about which way to go, where are the airlines, more airlines available, and in fact, more flights per airline. This work you have to do ahead of time. I remember we go to San Diego, and we make a plan and to say we will fly Southwest Airlines because they have a flight every hour on the hour. What that means is that if I miss one flight or if something is canceled, chances are that you can catch the next one in another hour. Great planning. Supposing you, like for example, I remember the same thing. I used to go through Allentown, but we found that if there was any cancellation through Chicago, and Chicago is always a big problem in terms of connections, weather related and so on, you're stuck. You miss the whole flight. Nowadays, we go to Newark and through United Airlines. They have 3 or 4 flights every day going. If you miss one, you can go to the next one. This is called attention to karma. Now, despite that, if the cancellation takes place, that is out of your hands. Do well what is in your hand. Don't worry about things that are not in your hand, because it's going to happen. It's going to happen one time. I remember this, I was in Rishikesh, and so Swami Dayanandji was going to go to New Delhi. He was he was supposed to talk in some big meeting, and he was supposed to go there. And so usually Swamiji will go by car from Rishikesh to New Delhi, which takes about 7 hours. And do you know, in many times he would come back to Rishikesh after attending a meeting. Imagine this, 7 hours going, attending a meeting, and coming back late at night. Crazy. We used to tell him, Swamiji, please don't do that. Just stay overnight. He says, no, but I don't want to miss the next morning's class. So he used to do this. Then the airline started using the Dehradun airport, which was a very small airport, and it was unreliable because there's always a lot of, traffic and weather-related problems. But soon it became a little bit better. So I remember this so well. So we were sitting there, leaving Swamiji at the airport, at the Dehradun airport, very close by to the ashram. It's only like half hour away. So we said, Swamiji, don't go by car, just go by airport. So we went there. We go there and we are ready to check in. They say, we're very sorry to tell you that the airline from Delhi is late because of the weather problems, and they may not arrive for another hour or two. So we said it's okay. We were just doing satsang. We were just sitting there talking about Vedanta and having something to have a cup of tea and so on. Then an hour and a half later, they said, it's been delayed another 4 hours. So now we have a decision to make. What should we do? Should we go back to the ashram? So we decided, yes, because it's only half hour, and then let's go back to the ashram and so on. And I still remember this so well. All the students around him, they were all very upset. Very upset. What is this? This kind of a Mickey Mouse operation? Why can't they tell us ahead of time? They're wasting our time. We should have sent Swamiji. Swamiji was listening to all of this. And on the drive back in the car, I was sitting with him also. He says, I don't understand your attitude. What is there to be upset about this? So I can't go. What has happened? There's nothing big deal about it. And he says, I cannot fathom why you are even thinking about this. Accept Ishvara's wish. They're not criminals or anything like this. They're doing their best. They could not do it. We'll go tomorrow. What's the big thing? And so sure enough, the whole thing was canceled the first day, and then we went the next day and so on. So this is exactly what is being mentioned here. That please make sure that you do everything you can to make your karmas efficient. Supposing you always go to Allentown and you miss it, it's your problem. It's easier to just go to Newark and drive from there because you've planned it well. So absolutely, do that. But despite that, if something problems occur, why let it bother yourself? Let it go. Yes, it's okay. So this is exactly what verse number 14 is saying. Namam karmani limpanti name karma phale spriha iti mam yo abhijanati karma bhi na badyate. You are not at the mercy of your life's twists and turns. You just set what your objectives are, and if for some reason the objectives are not met, you should examine, did I not do a good enough job? I'll do a better job next time. If you did the best you can and it still did not occur, let it go. That's not your job. So here, somewhere in the commentary, this is very interesting. I think in one of the verses, I'll just do that here rather than later. Swami Paramarthananda made it such a beautiful commentary. I'll never forget it. He said, you know, if you are swimming in a swimming pool and you don't know how to swim well, it can be very dangerous. You can drown in it. At least you'll be very unhappy. If, on the other hand, you have mastered the art of swimming, swimming pool is a great source of joy and play. Amazing. It's really, I can see this. I'm not a swimmer. I have never been able to learn how to swim. But I can swim for maybe about 20 feet, 30 feet, somehow or the other by not taking. But I am deathly afraid of going into a swimming pool. I don't enjoy it. I just stay on the surface and so on. And I see these young kids who are very natural swimmers. They jump into the to the bottom of the swimming pool, stay there for half a minute, retrieve things, laughing all the time, just totally out of fun. This is a beautiful commentary. So Swamiji says that really, if we can learn to enjoy life despite problems, because we did the best we can, and it doesn't matter, life is a joy. And in fact, another aspect of this whole thing is we think of action as a burden, not knowing exactly how to lead an active life. If we learn the true value of acting actively in life, with the help of Ishvara, life becomes a joy. It's just like a swimming pool. Otherwise, you are always resenting, why do I have to do this? Why me? And so on and so forth. It's just a small twist. So this is all about karma and so on. And then he says in verses number 15 and 16, Krishna makes the point. He says this is not easy to figure out. So don't blame yourself if it takes a little while for you to. So he says, Evam gyatva kritam karma purvaihi api mumukshubhi kuru karma eva tasmat tvam purvaihi purvataram kritam kim karma kim akarma iti kavayoho api atra mohitaha tatte karma pravakshyami yat gyatva mokshase shubhat. So he says even kavayaha means the very thinkers. How they do this? You know, one example of this is the fact that the entire Western civilization and the Eastern civilizations to try to copy the Western civilization is based on the fact that having material wealth leads to happiness. When in fact this is not true. So this is a beautiful example of kim karma kim akarma iti kavayaha api atra mohitaha. That even thinkers. Another one, for example, is communism. Swami Maheswaranji makes a lot of references to communism. How misguided they are by thinking that, really speaking, everyone should have equal part in the profits of something. He says that doesn't work. Not everybody is the same. And to try to force it to do everyone to be the same, it doesn't help. He gave an example. I'll just pause for a minute. This is Swami Maheshananji. This is an actual example. He says that when I was teaching in Calcutta, apparently he's originally from Rajasthan, but he spent a lot of time teaching in Calcutta for some reason. Not sure why. Excuse me. So he says, I had a devotee who was a mill owner, a very rich man. And he used to take care of everybody, and things were going on fairly well. Then his force was unionized. And the union said that this mill owner is making too much money and we need to ask for more wages. He's not paying us enough. So we need to ask for more wages. So they demanded more wage, and 1 year they got some increment. And so this happened 2 or 3 years in a row. And the mill owner said, listen, you think I'm making a lot of money? I'm not. And I think you are being unreasonable in the way you're asking for. And so there was a great deal of protests, and it's absolutely not. We will shut down the mill, and if you don't give us more money. So the mill owner said, listen, let's do this. I am willing to give you the ownership of the whole mill. You become the owners of it. And I have made some money, and I'm okay. I'm getting old. And everybody thought, wow, this is so wonderful. So they said, okay, we'll buy the mill from you, and then we will start our own management committee and so on and so forth. So they did that. As a result of that, they found out that they were making too much money individually. They didn't have enough profits, and they fought within each other. Everybody said everybody should be given, and so on and so forth. The whole mill just went parts. It had to be shut down in the next few years. And then people realized that really we should have trusted this person, and that we should have thought about working some kind of a deal instead of we ask for set amount of money and so on. This is a very good, all these are good examples where how to lead a life. Going back to the Western civilization, Swami Maheshananji made the point. He says, all these statisticians in India, they keep statistics about how many refrigerators are sold every year, how many cars are sold every year, as though this is a barometer for happiness. It isn't. You buy a car, and sometimes you don't realize what it means, how much money it costs, the responsibility, the theft, the insurance, and so. I'm just talking about some families in India. And so Krishna says that what creates happiness for you, even the experts differ. The entire Western civilization is on a wrong path. That we are going to make more money, and we think that we are going to live very well, and we are therefore happy. This last equation is not true. I was telling you this, that Swami Dayanandji, when he first came to the US, then in 1973 or 74. So when he went back to India, people said, Swamiji, he was here for 2-3 months. That's when I first met him, his very first trip. But he was telling us on his next trip that I went back to India, people were saying, Swamiji, so what do you think about US? How do you think this is? Swamiji says, here's the thing. We are in India uncomfortably unhappy. And in the US, they are comfortably unhappy. He says that people are still worried. They have the same issues. Yes, they've got a nice meal and air-conditioned homes and so on and so forth. But at the end of the day, I am not sure that the average American is any happier than the average Indian. That was he was telling us this. So this is what Krishna is saying. He says, Kim karma, kim akarma iti kavayo api api mohitaha. But he says, I will now tatte karma pravakshyami yat gyatva mokshase ashubhat. I will now tell you how to view. I have been telling you, and I will continue to tell you, how to view your life so that from a guna standpoint you become a Brahmana. This is the trend of his instruction. Now we come to the main verses for which Gita is really known for. So Gita is not meant for karma. Although karma has to be understood, karma means my attitude towards action in life. What should I do? How should I behave? That's what is meant by karma. So even though the karma has to be properly understood, as we have been discussing, that's not the main objective of the Bhagavad Gita. Neither is it bhakti. It's not the main objective. Bhakti also is a sadhana. Karma is also a sadhana. The main objective is your own knowledge about yourself. That is the main topic of the Gita. There also people differ. And there's a friend of mine who is a very famous teacher of Bhagavad Gita into corporate offices. He's hardly ever here. He's always traveling around the world, both in India as well as in Europe here. And his main thing is how to apply the lessons of Bhagavad Gita to improve the performance of your company. He's very successful. Who am I to argue with him? But that's not the main focus of the Bhagavad Gita. Main focus is, as an individual, how you should view yourself so that you become free. And all these other things are simply ways of reaching that stage. Gunataha Brahmana. When you become Gunataha Brahmana, then you have arrived and you are ready to conduct an inquiry into the self. So Jnanam is the main focus of the Bhagavad Gita. So this was provided in the second chapter also, I believe, from verse number 12 through 25, where knowledge was focused on. Now in verses number 17, 18 to 24, the knowledge is now directly focused on. And so this is what we will now study. So let's just, I think we have enough time, we can go into the essence of that. So in number 17, he says, Karmanaha hi api bodhavyam. Bodhavyam cha vikarmanaha. akarmanascha bodhavyam gahana karmano gatihi. And he continues on. I should have really just finished this as connected with number 16. So he says that the action is to be known. Forbidden action and actionless also must be known, because the nature of karma is difficult to understand. So it's continuing on saying that even the experts don't quite get it. So he's basically saying that please forgive yourself if you are struggling, because it is not an easy subject for you to get. But nevertheless, we must make an attempt at it. This is given with number 18. Karmani akarma yaf pashyet. So now the knowledge is directly addressed. Karmani akarma yaf pashyet. Akarmani cha karma yaha. Sa buddhiman manushyeshu sa yuktaha kritsna karma krit. So we look at the English translation, that person is called a yogi or a wise person. Let's say here the yogi is not the one who is doing asana yoga, but a wise person. The wise person is one who sees actionless in action and action in actionless. This is a very strange statement. So normally, if a person does not see things as they are, he is considered to be not a wise person. Everybody else sees things in a particular way and this person says no. That means that he's a very strange person. He doesn't go along with what everybody else sees. But here this statement is being made, that the one who sees actionless in action and action in actionless is wise amongst human beings. So this kind of a shocking statement is done from time to time. I think Swami Paramarthananda had given this example many times before. Let me see. Yeah, so he says that at various points in the Gita, such kind of reverse logic is given. So in number 69 of the second verse was, Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami yasyam jagrati bhutani sa nisha pashyato munehe. Means that where people see the day, a muni sees night. And where people see night, the muni sees a day. This is one example. Then we saw the one in 18, Karmani akarmana yaf pashyet. And then Nacha matsthani bhutani pashyame yogam aishwaram bhuta bhritna bhutastho mama atma bhuta bhavanaha. Everyone is situated in me, and I am situated in others. No one is situated in me, I am not situated in others. Kathopanishad also says, bigger than the biggest, smaller than the smallest. So these are shocking statements that need to be analyzed. Here, Swami, I think there was a statement made by, let me see where it is. Hold on just a second. No, I can't find it. Anyway, I'll try to recall it from memory. So there is a story that when Vedavyasa was writing Mahabharata, so he asked Ganesha to be his scribe. He said, listen, I'm just going to dictate all of this, and you kindly write it all down for me. So Ganesha agreed. He said, I will do so. But he says, I have one condition. So Vyasa says, what's your condition? He says, I'm a very fast writer. And I will quit if there is a pause. If there is a pause, then I will not go on, because I'm so focused that I want to be just writing completely. So Vedvyasa said, this is a very difficult thing, because your thoughts have to come and so on and so forth. But he says, okay, I have no choice. All right, fine. And Vedavyasa thought of something. He says, by the way, I also have a condition. So Ganesha said, what? He says that I want the scribe to understand what he's writing. So Ganesha said, yeah, that's no problem. I know what, So he says, okay, if you do not understand, then I will pause until your facial expression shows me that you have understood it. But if you have sort of like you're scratching your head and saying, what was that all about? Then I will pause. Ganesha said, no problem. Yeah. That's acceptable to me, because I will understand everything. So Vedavyasa started writing, and he put in these kinds of statements in between. Ya nisha sarva bhutanam tasyam jagarti samyami. That where all the people see the day, the wise people sees at night. And he's not an owl, by the way. He's not an ullu. He's a wise person. He's not like an owl who sees, because you know how the owls, Ishvara has made them so interesting. They are so sensitive to light that when it is daylight, it is too much for them. So they close their eyes. But when it is completely dark, to them they have enough visibility to be able to go through. But that's not true for a wise man, because he has the same eyes like that. Then karmani akarman yav pashyet karmani akarmachat. Bigger than the biggest, smaller than the smallest. So the story goes that in these cases, Ganesha started scratching his head. What does it mean? How can it be bigger than the biggest? So in the meantime, Vedavyasa gathers his thoughts and goes to the next one. So he sprinkled all these shocking statements through all of them. This is what the story goes. So this is one of them. Now we come to so what it really means is that when these kinds of statements are made, it gives us an opportunity to think, to pause. Because otherwise, just like in Ganesha's case, we just look at it as part of the life itself, and I'm just going to continue to make the best I can and so on. But once in a while, there are some shocking statements that should arrest my thinking. Really? Wow. It just happened to me. It was interesting. in this funeral of my friend Paul Gupta. So afterwards, I have a friend who is, I won't name him, but he's one of the wealthiest people in this whole creation. He's worth about $1 billion, Indian guy. And we know him socially and so on and so forth. My wife and his wife are friends, and I also meet him once in a while. So he was talking to me, and he said, you know, I wonder sometime who I really am. So I'm sitting there and saying, yeah, interesting, yes. And he says that, I'm not saying anything, he's just talking to me. And he says, you know, I read the Who Am I book from Raman Maharshi. And it sounded interesting, but I don't know. He's in his, I think, 70s. He's getting on in years. And he made tons of money from this valley. And now he's beginning to sort of think. And so far he's had a wonderful life, enjoying, and very good family, and very good person, really. But he's beginning to think. And so he was telling me that, you know, who am I? What's going on? So all I said was that, well, you know, we should talk sometimes. I don't know what's going to come out of it. I don't expect much, but I'll give him a shot. And when I was reading these verses, I was thinking this is not a bad way for me to communicate with him. And so, whether you have a shock because of the passing away of a friend, or some statements like this come in from Bhagavadgita, it gives you a pause. It should give you a pause, and it does. What? How can you say that? So let's examine this statement now and see what it means. So again, karmani akarma yah pashyet akarmani cha karma yaha sabuddhiman manushyeshu sa yuktaha kritsna karma krit. He says the one who sees actionless in something which appears to be full of action, and the reverse thereof, where there is no action, he sees lots of action going on amongst the people. I consider that person to be the one who is really knowledgeable and one who will be successful. Sayuktaha kritsna karma krit. Because we have our own definition of who is a successful person. Is it one who has become the president? Is it the one who has made lots of money? Is it the one who has some standing in society? Oh, we don't know who's successful. Well, Krishna says that, I'll tell you what, the person who is of this type is the one who I consider to be successful. Why? Because whatever needs to be done in this life is already done by him. For others, I'm not so sure. When you are become outwardly successful, are there some more things that need to be done? Yes. That's just only part of it. But for this type of a person, this is the type of a person who is very successful. This is what he says. So now let's look into the details of this. So according to the teaching of Vedanta, every being consists of two fundamental parts. So this can be understood from the standpoint of taking the example of, and I'm just revising this, you've already known this before, but I'm just quickly reminding you. Taking the example of an electrical appliance. A functioning electrical appliance has two parts to it. One is the outward part, which seems to be functioning. Whether it's a fan or an electric bulb or a heater or an air conditioner, what have you. But there's some things happening. And it's not inert. There are things moving. Some action is going on. So this is one part in the electrical appliance. The other part of the electric appliance is there is electricity. And the electricity is not visible. You don't see it. You can't even touch it. You should not touch it. In this particular case, you can touch it. But it's very powerful. You should not touch it. And you should not attempt to see it, because you won't be able to see it. It is far too subtle. And also, the electricity is required for the appliance to function. If the appliance is not functioning, there can be one of two reasons. One is that the electricity is not there. Somebody has switched off the thing. Or if the electricity is still flowing, but the appliance is malfunctioning. It's not able to reflect what the electricity is. And from the standpoint of the analysis of these two, in one case the electricity has no beginning, no end. It is always there. In the case of the appliance, it was made up and put together and made to function and made disappear. Similarly, Vedanta says, please, so for example, in the standpoint of a functioning electrical appliance, if you look at a child, he does not see the appliance as consisting of two things. It just sees them all because of the electricity functioning together. But the fact of the matter is that it has two very distinct parts. So similarly, from the standpoint of the knowledge of Vedanta, every human being has two parts. And normally we are children with respect to analyzing the constituents of the human being. We think it's a human being, it's working, you're talking, moving, etc. So what's the big thing? When in fact it has two distinct parts. One is called Atma and the other one is called Anatma. One is called the self and the other one is called not the self. The first one is called me, and the other one is not me, but still taken partially as me. These are the two parts. And if we understand the two parts clearly and how they come together to function, and therefore how they don't need to come together to function, then you are considered to be a wise person. In fact, I'll just bring in another example. I don't have to, but I'm reading something else that would has some relevance to this, and I'll come back to the main thing here. So in our literature, it is said that there's a thing called Hridaya Granthi. Hridaya Granthi means the knots of the heart. The knots of the heart. And so it is said that one whose knots have been untied becomes free. So what does it really mean? Very interesting. So what it said is that the knots of something consist of two parts that are separate from each other, but they have been combined together to make into a single part. This is the nature of a knot. So you have two ones. In fact, this is what I don't know if I remember I had gone through this scouting, Boy Scouting when I was growing up. So we were taught all these kinds of knots. There was called a reef knot, where you intertwine it in such a way that the more you tighten it, the less likely it is likely to come back. And in fact, there is a double knot. So the double knot is given. All this has relevance in Vedanta. We will study in more detail some other time. But all I'm saying is that what happens is that there really are two parts, but they are joined together and they function as a single one. But then, if I have the ability to untie it, then my confusion with respect to Atma and Anatma. So here, Atma and Anatma are two strands. And because they are knotted together, this is what is called Anyonya Tadatmyam, Anyonya Ashraya. Anyonya Ashraya means that the Anatma becomes the Atma, and the Atma becomes the Anatma. They're all mixed up into one. So when I was saying that, for example, when I say that I'm 5'10", actually I used to be 5'10", and every time I go to the doctor, now I become less. So the other day, the nurse told me, she says, "Can you please stand here?" So I was there. Now I am not even 9.5. So I thought there's something wrong with the machine. Hey, I was born as 9'10". She says, "Sir, everybody is shrinking." So I feel I'm 5'10". This is the knots of the heart. Knots of the heart means knots of thinking, my conclusion. So the size of the body becomes my size. But I also have I-ness in the body. So this analysis of the knots of the heart is a very important one, and we will go at that some other time. But it's pretty much the same thing here. So the human body, human being, has two distinct parts. Just like an electrical appliance has two distinct parts. You have electricity. The electricity has nothing to do with the appliance. Nothing. And the appliance has none of the ability of the electricity, which is that it is unaffected. It can go into any of the appliances, invisible, has no beginning, no end, relatively speaking. But the only thing that happens is that the appliance can be designed in a way to reflect the electricity. Reflect the electricity. When that happens, it starts to function and create some confusion in people's minds. So, for example, look at the quality differences between Atma and Anatma. One is, Atma is Nityam, means that it is independent of time. It has its own ability to be. Whereas Anatma is Anityam. It is a function of time. There was a time when it was not there. There's a time that it may not be there, will not be there, and some time where it appears to be there. So that's one of the differences between them. Another one is the quantity. Atma is ekam. Anatma is anekam. Ekam means one, singularity. Anatma is multiplicity. So in the case of electricity also, there's one electricity, but the appliances are many. Another one is from a standpoint of nirgunatvam and sagunatvam. Nirgunatvam means it does not have any breadth, height, color, whereas anatma is sagunatvam. It can have color, it may have breadth, it may have sizes, and so on. Another one is vikaratvam. So vikaratvam means change. So nityatvam and vikaratvam also are similar, but in a vikaratvam, you may have some parts to it. In nirvikaratvam, there are no parts. As in the case of the akasha and the room space, the space has no parts, but the room space can have parts. So these are the various differences between Atma and Anatma. Now, to summarize, I'll just finish with this. The one thing that the 4th chapter, verse number 18 brings up is another aspect. We saw all these other ones, nityam, anityam, nirvikaram, savikalam, guna, nirguna, etc. The new aspect that is given by the 4th chapter, 18th verse is action with respect to action. That means the Atma has no action in it. There is no movement. There's no change. Whereas Anatma has continuous motion, continuous change, continuous action. It can never be without action. So in the case of the Atma, it was never the case it was not there. There is no emergence of the Atma. There is no death to the Atma. It is not made up of something which can die. Because to die, you must have some parts that cease to function. But in Atma, there are no parts. And the death only occurs if it was born. Atma was never born to begin with. And it's not possible for it to give up anything. It never acquired anything. It was always there. So from the standpoint, so there's no action possible. Just like saying there's no action possible in space. There's action possible in room space, but not in space. This is one thing. And then we see that even things when they are in anatma, in not the Atma, even when there is perceived lack of action, there is action. Table looks actionless. You don't realize how much action is going on to make sure that the appearance of action is not there. It's kind of like, I remember, which is true for when I was working in engineering with IBM and Hewlett-Packard and so on, and most recently in Steve Jobs' statement about the iPhones and so on. He says that to convey simplicity in a product, it requires a lot of complexity. And really speaking, what really made Apple so successful when they came out with this iPod, it was so simple. Before that, the industry was full of pods, lots of ones. Well, the genius of Apple was that it made everything appear so simple and requires a lot of engineering to do so. Similarly, it's so interesting. Look at the handiwork of Ishvara to make this table appear actionless. There is a lot of action going on. There is a lot of molecular activity. And all held together in a way that there is no taking them apart. In fact, this is what happens. It's very beautiful. When you put your hand on the table, you cannot penetrate the table with your hand. Even though your hand and the table both are 99.999999999% transparent. The amount of electrons and protons that are occupying the space is so small compared to the space that there is no reason why the two of them should actually stop each other, but they do. And it is because of the magnetic qualities of those two. It has nothing to do with opacity. It has to do with magnetic quality. The two repel each other. Anyway, what is being said is that even when things appear to be stationary, they are moving very fast. So, for example, you and I are facing each other. We look like we are both, just sitting there, not doing anything, just talking to each other. We are both hurtling in space at unbelievable speeds. Unbelievable. We cannot even visualize how fast we are moving. So the anatma is continuously moving. The atma is not capable of moving. And yet it appears that I am changing, I am moving. And some of the stuff around the world is stationary, not moving. This is the issue. So therefore now we can say that the wise man, wise person, is the one who sees that the Atma cannot have action and the Anatma cannot but have action. When you understand this very well, you are done. You've arrived. That's the meaning of this verse. Karmani akarma yah pashyet. Akarmani cha karma cha yaha. Sa buddhiman manushyeshu sasyuktaha kritsna karma krit. This is the meaning of this verse. And this is the central part of the knowledge, the jnanam of Vedanta. And all the rest of it in terms of karma and bhakti and karma yoga and so on is only with respect to the clarity of this knowledge. And the clarity of the knowledge only comes in when we're not worried about things in life and we are just looking at the reality of who I am as a person. And that's only possible if from a guna standpoint, I've become a brahmana, which means I've settled all the accounts, I'm comfortable with the world, and I'm ready to look at the significance of who I am as a person. And then this viveka and vairagya between atma and anatma becomes more real to me. So this is the progression of the teaching of the Bhagavadgita in the fourth chapter. So with that we'll close today. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha Hari Om. Yeah.
In this Chaturvarnyam, as far as behavior is concerned, it is also said, in one slok that you should look at everything same. Like Brahmane Gavya Nitya Pachukya Sandarshana. And should you behave everywhere the same?
Well, it's same in the sense of keeping the differences in mind, but your own attitude should be that of free of raga dvesha. So really speaking, if you look at our relationship with the world, then it's not as though there are no differences, So it's not like you become blind and you cannot tell the difference between a elephant and a human being or anything like that. That's not what is being talked about. But it is towards your attitude towards people and things and situations that should have some consistency. So for example, if you give too much attention to your own family, and make them bigger than they are, more, and give them so much love that you almost throttle them, whereas you cannot stand your neighbor's child, neighbor's children, and so on and so forth. To them, whatever they give they do is not okay with you. Then that is raga dvesha. So you have to keep children as children of God. You have some extra relationship with them because you're responsible for them, so you should consider that. But you have a relationship which is free of any extra raga dvesha, is the one which is called samatvam buddhi uchyate. So it's not as though you don't see the differences in the forms and so on, but it's how you look at it in terms of your own biases that need to be addressed. So that's more of that type.
Do you behave differently with different people?
Yeah, to the extent where you need to, I mean, for example, if they're neighbors that you need to be aware of, that you are living close to them, so you have to live with them as neighbors. Strangers, you do, so all those kinds of differences are still to be done. But at any one time, I think you have to see, am I looking at it from a myopic, biased standpoint or not? That's the main objective. Yeah.
And this thing, the karma you are talking about in the previous shloka, that the result may become bad or good. So that they lose track of this truth that it could be worse, and God is doing it for the best. That truth is lost when we look at it.
Yeah, it's part of it. Yes. To not understand the totality of it. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
So to go or to reach the anatma from where we are now, anatma is action without action. That's what you said, right? Or am I misunderstanding?
Say that again. That the
anatma is action without any action.
No, I didn't. No.
So to reach there or to understand that state, we need to control or reduce our actions and focus more on.
No. I didn't say all of that.
I'm saying that. Asking. Is that something?
No, it's just. So I think the nature of this is the analysis of. The basic distinction is between at least initially, there is a dvaita in the sense that there is a duality, which eventually will also disappear. The duality will also, the dvaita will become advaita later, but in the initial stages, you have to see that Atma and Anatma are fundamentally different. And you are mixing up both of them. So to separate them initially, at least in your mind, is important. And then the second stage will come in where the Anatma is not real. Atma is real. So there, the Anatma and Atma are not at the same level. They're not the same level. One is just appearance. The other one is the reality. That stage comes in when the two dvaitas have to be merged together into a single advaita. So that's the process that we have to go through. But the first thing is to be very clearly to understand that the Atma, that myself, Atma means myself, the very consciousness, is not possible to have any action. So any kind of a blame that I do on myself, that I am not good enough, or I am changing, or I'm getting old, or all those kinds of things, is not the proper way to characterize myself. I am basically unchangeable, never, and so on and so forth. But that has to be understood. You cannot force it. You have to see what the reasonings are. And so the main focus there is to be able to understand the difference between Atma and Anatma. And then if you do that, then then the Anatma becomes placed in the proper situation that it is not real. All of that will come in our understanding.
Understand all this. Understand that I'm not exactly, my body or my mind.
Right, right.
Even my mind, that is thinnest, what do you call, material. That's what I mean.
Sukshma Sharira, yes, that's also part of that.
So basically, if my buddhi is telling me to do something into direction to reach the state to understand the anatma and so forth, that depends on my karma. Is that my karma phala?
Your buddhi to the state of your understanding will certainly be dependent on where you are. So it depends on two things. One is that someone who's explaining to you is reliable and truthful and represents the ancient wisdom. So that teacher also is important. And then you as a student who is ready to accept these rather opposite views of who we are and so on, must also be ready to reason with yourself. So your buddhi also has to be developed enough to follow the teaching. So both of them are necessary. If one is there but not the other, then it won't happen. If you may be very smart, but if you have not really been exposed to the very wisdom of the Shastra, then you will probably just go on. Or if you meet a wise person, but your own buddhi has not yet developed to a point of understanding it, then you'll have to wait for a little while before you do. So both parts are necessary, yes. Yeah. Why don't we give chance to others to ask questions? Thanks. If nobody is there, then I'll come back to you. Yes.
The guna you're talking about is the same thing as the character of a person?
Yes. Character is a big part of that, absolutely. Just the way of looking at things, broader than a character. Character requires that you are you're not doing anything wrong. You are truthful. So I see the word character as being more limiting than wisdom. Wisdom would mean that you are free to examine all points of view in the world and be able to tell the difference on what is important, what is not, more than a character, I would say. It will be my way of looking at it. Character means that you are dharmic and you are sincere to the family and so on and so forth. That's a good character. Dependable. You're not lying, you are a truthful person and so on. But I think a wise person would be one. So a guna in that standpoint, yes, means that you are in you have confluence with the world. Swami Viditatmananda uses the word that it's like a symphony and you're part of the symphony. You're loving and you don't have any strong likes and dislikes and so on. So I would say the Brahmana guna is broader than character, but close to it, yeah, in the same direction. Yeah.
Same thing with buddhi and wisdom?
Buddhi and wisdom is the same thing. So yeah, so I think when you say buddhiman, so buddhiman means one who is. The only thing I would say is that wisdom and buddhi may be slightly different, because buddhi means that you have the ability to think. And almost like going back to the answer that I gave to Shilpa, that buddhi means you have the ability to think clearly. A wise person is one who has already exposed this buddhi to good teaching and is able to absorb it and to see the distinction between the wisdom of this teaching versus the wisdom of other teaching. And so that would be called a wise person who has really looked at everything. And in that sense, really nothing phases, no matter what the questions are. Questions from other schools of thoughts like Buddhism and Jainism and so on and so forth. And you're able to deal with them. And you're able to explain away the differences. That would be called a wisdom of a person. Yeah. All right. Yes.
You mentioned about Hridaya Granthi.
Yes.
In that, you explained that there are two actually entities or personalities.
Correct.
And one is real, one is unreal.
Right.
So is that the same when you're observing things? Then you are a subject and you're observing the object.
Yes.
So the one who is observing, is he the real entity?
So I think that we need to look on all of that. I think we don't have time to answer that. But the Granthi is between, you're right, it is between, the best example is that of the rope and the snake. So in a way, the conclusion that it is not a rope, it's a snake, is because of the Hridaya Granthi, where the perceived qualities of a snake and the real qualities of this rope are mixed together. Yeah, that's something like that. Okay, very good.